I'm Mark Dresner, and this is the Research Insider, brought to you by the Future of Consumer Intelligence Conference. Joining us today is Matthew Ferraro. He's composer and producer. Matthew, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
2 years ago, you got into crowdfunding. What attracted you to it, and how did you get into it?
The main reason for me was because I wanted to find a new way to generate revenue online in the arts. The arts, in socioeconomic times when they're difficult, usually the arts suffer. Right. It's usually one of the first areas that suffers. And so I was always looking for a way to actually create different projects that had meaning for me. I've worked, as you said, in Hollywood for quite a while. And I got to that point to where, do I want to do another, Bride of Chucky 24, or like some, Honey Boo Boo meets Godzilla, and you just get to the point where I want to be part of the solution rather than the problem. As an artist, I very much believe in social consciousness and being socially aware. So crowdfunding just kind of gave me a way to raise money for projects that for me, I felt had social relevance. And I was originally introduced to this through a filmmaker friend of mine who was crowdfunding for a project that she had. And she was successful in the endeavor. Then I beta tested it. And just with a very small little project, I think I tried to raise a couple $1,000s. And it was successful. And then I just kept doing different projects after that, and each one more successful than the next. Now crowdfunding is actually an extension of my business.
How can commercial enterprises, and in particularly the consumer research and market research teams that work for them, how can they apply crowdfunding, if at all, to what they do?
That's another great question. I think that crowdfunding can be applied in so many different ways, because you have to remember crowdfunding is a derivative of crowdsourcing. And so it's just the kind of the later part of the process. It's actually when you're turning people to actually pull money out of their pocket to support you. So a perfect example I think that would illustrate this is I was consulted by a solar company to help them develop a campaign where there was a grocery store chain who wanted to put solar on their grocery stores. And as a matter of fact, it's up in San Francisco. And the way that we're going to raise money to actually install the solar was through crowdfunding. And so what the grocery store did was access its database of patrons who shop at the store, and they asked them, they said, look, we want to go green. We would like you to be part of it, which is great because people want to be involved in the process. And they said, so if you can help us fund our solar panels, we'll in turn give you the cost savings that we get from the power companies from every month from the money that we're going to save in generating energy, which I think that's an amazing model actually to look at. Yeah, it's incredible.
The store wins because now their customer is definitely going to them. If they weren't before, the brand loyalty is up through the roof, and the customer wins because they've contributed to a more sustainable environment from the utility.
And what I think is really exciting about that as well is it's so transparent. And that's part of it that I think is really beautiful. We live in an age now where transparency, I think, is something that people are craving now more so than ever. And I think the internet in some ways is providing that through social media, et cetera, et cetera. I think moving forward, I hope that actually that continues and that there is that kind of transparent relationship between, the client and the customer. And so that's the thing about crowdfunding as well. It's a very honest mechanism that actually encourages great social behavior. And so that's another thing about it too. I mean, you can have crowdfunding campaigns if you don't ask for anything, because one of the other parts of crowdfunding that you sometimes do is you can offer perks. So, so at different, someone wants to give $25, they get something. If they want to give 50, 100, whatever it is. And if you don't offer the perks, if people are giving you money, that's non-taxable income. So you can raise a substantial amount of money through these vehicles. And what's interesting about it is it's a very open platform. The architecture is very open, so it's very malleable, and I think it can adjust to how the market actually serves it or not.
This is very interesting stuff, and I think it's really got legs. We're going to see it going in all kinds of places. Possibilities are endless. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Pleasure having you.
Yeah, thanks again.
And that concludes this episode of the Research Insider. I'm Mark Dresner. Thanks for tuning in.